call on Pastor Kate Bruns, Bethlehem Lutheran Church, for the invocation. Please rise.
Let us pray. Creator God, thank you for the sunshine and the warmer temperatures, the opportunity we all have to be outdoors, the farmers to get into the fields. Lord, you are the one who made the universe and all that exists, bringing order and purpose to our world. You are the source of all wisdom, all strength, and all love. You have blessed this city with leaders to conduct its business. And this night, we ask your blessing upon the tasks set before them, on the agenda items, on the citizens speaking to those items. May they listen carefully, deliberate respectfully, and make decisions for the good of all. Bless the work of this council and the city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call this May 6, 2013 City Council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Psychos.
Here.
Rundquist. Sinstone.
Here.
Hicks. Sinstone. Shire.
Here.
Rachels.
Here.
Fish.
Here.
We have a legal quorum. We will proceed to conduct business. There are no public hearings this evening. We will not be awarding any bids. Under petitions and communications, I'll ask Mark Sievert, City Administrator, to introduce a proposal from our visitors this evening.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Tonight we have Ray Willie from Historic Properties, who has been here, had a tour of the facility, and has been out with us several times. And Ray is here to give a presentation before the council, a little bit about his organization and about what they foresee doing with the RTC campus. So
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Gentlemen.
Hi, Ray Willie. I am from California. Bill Brown from Georgia. He is our COO. Our group is Historic Properties, Inc. And Bill's handing out a few items for you. The top one there is a little bit about our group. It's a private, small company. We specialize in acquiring and renovating and leasing out historic buildings around the country. We've been doing this for about 31 years, have done several dozen projects, albeit none the size of the treatment center, that's for sure. But started out small and got a little bit bigger as the years went by, and started with one or two tenants and have grown a bit, but again, none the size of course, 800,000 square foot facility out there. But I wanted to tell you how I came on this thing. I subscribed to Historic Preservation Magazine. I was flipping through it one day, and I saw the picture of this facility, and I saw the scope and the size of it, and I was just amazed at the building, but I was amazed and kind of awestruck and perplexed that it could possibly in danger of demolition. It looked like a European castle from Liechtenstein or something. It was just a beautiful building, and the grounds are so amazing. And I thought, how could this possibly be a potential to be torn down and demolished? So it made me think, gee, there's got to be a way, or maybe there is a way. When we look at these buildings, we look at two criteria going into it. We look at the building if it's structurally sound. And a lot of buildings, they aren't. And it's too far gone to save them. It'd be almost like rebuilding it. You just can't do it. The other criteria is it leasable? Can we find tenants for it to make it work economically? And there are a lot of buildings that are structurally sound that are beautiful buildings, but you just can't make it work financially. It just doesn't work. So with those two items in mind, we looked at the building, had a great visit here, and I wanted to thank the community and the city staff and the council members that we met. They were extremely friendly, accommodating, and very helpful in our trip, and this is our second trip here, and done nothing but been very helpful for us, trying to kind of look at this thing and get a big picture and see what we possibly could do. The two things that I think surface as major issues in trying to save this building would be, on the one hand, making it work financially. And if that doesn't work, you know, we couldn't do it, and perhaps a lot of groups couldn't do that. It has to make sense financially. But the second thing, and probably even bigger issue, is what works best for the building and for the community at large. What is not good for the community is not good for that RTC, and not good for us. It has to be complementary to what already exists in the community. It has to build upon, not replace. You know, we don't advocate presenting anything for the RTC that isn't in the best interest of the community. So we've ruled out a lot of potential uses, things that already exist. There's a great health club in town. There is great senior housing. There is a performing arts center. There's a lot of things that perhaps could have happened there, but we don't think should. We would advocate, what can we bring to enhance what's already there, not compete. We don't want to directly compete with anything that is existing here. So with that baseline criteria, we thought of what would be a creative mix of uses that could possibly work for that facility. We had three things in mind. For one wing, not the administration building and the other wing, but one wing, the left wing as you're facing it, we thought of apartments, perhaps 50 apartments, not senior housing. Again, there seems to be an abundance of excellent senior housing in the community. We thought of apartments, maybe a little bit of a younger twist and model to that, for folks a little bit younger that are not in the senior housing category, but in a category that we think may be well served for that type of thing. We thought that we could put a pool and a spa, use the gymnasium there as a basketball court as one of the amenities for the apartments. Underneath the basketball court is a basement. We thought we could do a little health club, again, for the apartments. But as you face the building, the larger part of the administration building in the right wing, we thought as a boutique hotel. There are a group, and one of these handouts show you this one here that says Historic Hotels of America. Through the National Trust, Preservation Trust, there's a whole subset of hotels. There's a couple hundred plus of historic hotels throughout America that have been restored, and we think this would be a great candidate to include in that group. We are in communication with a hotel developer out of California who has done a number of similar projects like this, and they have an interest in doing this. Cannot stand here tonight and say I can guarantee I can deliver that group or any other group to do it. We wouldn't be the group to run and operate the hotel. We could do the renovation on the project, and we can deliver these other components. This one is still up in the air, but that would be our plan A. Plan A would be to put approximately 50 housing units on the left side wing, the administration building, and the right side wing for a boutique historic hotel. Using the administration building as an entry point, we would rebuild the portico so cars would pull up. There would be valet parking and the parking to the right. And using that administration building, I think it's about 44,000 square feet, would be, we think, an ideal lobby and lobby bar and registration for the hotel and administrative offices for the hotel, etc. And share the services. So the hotel and the apartment complex would be able to share with the pool, the spa, the grounds, almost like a park-like setting. The athletic facility, the basketball court, etc., that we would build there. Then the third and last component, as the arc goes out in the middle, there is an existing dining hall, an 83,000 square foot kitchen, and some other buildings that we would turn into 5 or 6 eateries. We have relationships with operators, and I gave you some material to illustrate this. The one that we're doing now in Newcastle, Indiana, is a good example of the type of thing we would bring to bear here. There's a sheet that shows the color sheet of, an Irish pub, although that wouldn't be in the mix. You guys have a great Irish pub here in town. But that picture showing of Newcastle, Indiana, that Jennings building that we're doing, we're putting 20 apartments on the upper deck that are affordable. We're using the housing tax credit for that. And on the lower 2 floors, the basement and the first floor, we're putting in 4 eateries that are described in those. We would take some of those same operators and establish 4 new businesses here. We would put probably a large sports bar, coffee, a family pizza, and then 2 or 3 others that we haven't determined yet. Again, fitting what makes sense in the mix of the community, what the needs are, matching it that way. They would be all new. We would not be going out and trying to find existing businesses to get to move to this facility. We would bring new businesses into town and bring new jobs and new tax bases, sales tax bases, et cetera, by doing that. That part we can deliver, and we can deliver on the housing if we get the tax credit. We would be applying for a number of tax credits. Most of them you get if you follow the standards, like the Federal Historic Rehabilitation Tax Credit. You'll get that credit. We will get that credit so long as we adhere to the Department of Interior standards. And so we've done it a number of times, and we would adhere to that. So that is somewhat of an automatic so long as you follow the guidelines. The housing tax credit's not. We were fortunate to get it in Newcastle, Indiana. It was very competitive and a very complex application process, 450 pages. I've given you the requirements of the Minnesota one. It's a 3-page stapled item there. This is an application we would have to make. It's due June 18th. They award the tax credits in November. So if we were to make a pass at this, we would have to scramble to do the application by June 18th, wait 4 or 5 months to find out whether we get the award. We think the Kirkbride would score very high with all of the amenities, all of the set-asides, all of the particulars. It's rural, it's preservation, it's redoing what wasn't already a hotel, it's readaptive use. There are a lot of points that we would score that would give us a pretty good chance of getting that award, but there's no guarantee. They're competitive. We'd have to put the award in, take our shot at it. If we got the award, we would do the housing and we would do the eateries and hope to do the hotel. If we could not find a hotel operator right away, we would take on the whole project. We would not mothball the one section, but we would preserve it, clean it up, do whatever we need to do to preserve that section, go ahead and do the housing and the eateries, the restaurants, and the amenities, and hope to find a hotel operator for the other side. As I said, we have been in talks with a very established hotel operator who has done this a number of times. He's interested. We think there's a good chance he would do this, but again, this is up in the air at this point in time. Some of the other stuff that we've handed out, just so you know, there's a couple projects we've done. I think we've handed out one, this one here. This is a 100-year-old bank building we renovated into a corporate headquarters for a bank that has, I think, about 18 branches. I think we've given you a sheet on the award so you can see the amount. We were awarded $3.5 million in tax credit plus for 20 units. We think the award would be for 50, somewhere up in the $10, $11 million range, maybe $12 million range for the housing tax credit if we could in fact get it. I think the Kirkbride would be ideal for these types of, these three pieces. I think the apartments, some of the folks that would live in them might be employees of the restaurants. We operate, my brothers are all in the pizza business, and we operate a bunch of pizza stores in the West. And we've done this before where we've brought a pizza parlor into a mixed-use development and then ended up housing so many of the workers that work at the pizza parlor. Just in the pizza business, there's 35 or 40 workers just in one pizza store. But with the sports bar and all the others, there would be quite a few younger folks that would work there that may need a place to live. But I think the Kirkbride would lend itself to a development like this. I think it makes sense. It makes sense financially for us if we can do this and if we can achieve the tax credit. But I guess as a next step, we would need to, in the coming weeks, work out some agreement with the city that would allow us to take the next step. And when I say allow us to make the application for the low-income housing tax credit, you have to have the support of the city. Not the money from the city, but the support of the city saying we will participate. We're in support of this idea. And at some point, we would have to make out some sort of draft a development agreement that is acceptable to all parties. Doesn't have to be done right away, but in order to make the application within a couple weeks, we would need to know if this is a step that we would like to take together in order to make that application. If we knew in a week or two, we would start working on the application, and it's going to take a long time. We have a tax credit attorney ready to go. It involves other pieces, third-party pieces, phase one, market assessment, capital needs assessment, a survey. So it involves third-party actions that do take some time. So we'd have to scramble to get the application in by the middle of June. But my interest and request of the City Council is to consider this proposal and consider taking that first initial step. If we make the application and we're denied, no harm done. You know, we wouldn't be able to proceed with the project without that tax credit for the housing. I don't see that it would be a major setback. We would have no hard feelings. We took our best shot at it. We didn't get it. If we get it, we can move forward with two of those three components and hopefully a third. So that is our interest in our proposal. And if anyone has any questions, be happy to address those.
Thank you, Mr. Willie. It's an interesting proposal, and I'll open it up to the council to ask any questions you might have.
I'll ask.
Ben?
Well, thank you for being here today, and it's an interesting proposal. Question on the tax credits, the housing tax credits. Those are federal tax credits that are allocated through the state. Is that correct? Now, is each state allowed? Is there a total big pool, and each state can apply for? Does Minnesota have a? Do you know? Does Minnesota have a history of other projects, or have they been successful in the past? Or is it
I have no idea on the history or the success rate. I know what their allocation is for this coming year, and it is
12 million.
12 million times 10. Everything's done in 10 years. I don't know why, but
Sure.
So $120 million. We would be looking to get around 11 plus or minus of that.
Thank you.
Could you go through the timeline from application to award? What's the time frame when you would know whether it's successful?
We would have to turn in the application by June 18th. And we do nothing as it relates to the application. It's all in the hands of the state, who administers it for the federal government. They take that amount of time to go through it and vet it out, and us as developers, and look at all that. And then they make their decisions and they make their awards. And that, we don't find out till November. I don't know exactly the date in November, but we have nothing to do with that application. And in fact, if you try and influence that application, once you turn it in, you get automatically rejected. So what we would be doing in the ensuing months, though, is if the city agreed, okay, let's do this application, get it in the hopper, see if we can get it. During the 5-month period, I would envision working out a development agreement that makes sense for all of us, with all the timelines. If we get the award, we would start work by this date. We would provide you with financial, all the things that would be part of a due diligence, and structuring, drafting a development agreement that works for us in the city. That would probably take 2 or 3 months, and then voting on it and whatever. So, we'd spend those ensuing months working that out. That's what we could be doing, but nothing we would do. We're totally out of it once we submit that on June 18th.
Your Honor.
Ben? Jay?
I was going to say, so you're asking for the city's support.
Yeah.
You're saying does that mean exclusivity? Does that not mean exclusivity? Define support for us.
Well, I would think it would mean exclusivity, but I'm not sure we'd have to do that. I think if we saw the award, if it was real and it happened, then, we'd push forward. I don't know that there'd be any negative. The process is very time-consuming and it's very expensive to make the application. You have third-party people, the biggest of which is legal. And this legal firm, we have them ready to go out of Indiana, but they are opposed to use their staff to bang this thing out in less than a month's time once we give them the green light to go, or approximately a month's time. I guess on the backside, I would be extremely disappointed if we went to all this effort and in good faith we're doing it, and in the opinion of the city council, if some better deal came along, we get the award and we're knocked out. I don't know, maybe we'd have to put something in there to protect us. Maybe exclusivity isn't the word. There might be some way of structuring something that would rise to the level if Warren Buffett comes to town and says, here, I'll redo the whole thing or something.
That's,
If you think if we can give you some kind of answer in that regard within a couple weeks, because we have another meeting within 2 weeks here, and
okay.
We're missing some people tonight.
Sure.
That would be okay with you guys? It doesn't have to be tonight. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't have to be tonight.
You're saying we need.
Yeah, we didn't have that expectation for that. We wanted to give you an idea of what we thought we could do and let you guys consider it. But he's the guy that's going to be working with the attorney now. If 2 weeks would work, right?
Yeah. 30 puts us close.
We'd probably have to then.
30 days at that point, and that puts sleeves rolling up. And there's a lot of action where we have to actually come back to the city because there's documents that kind of have to go back and forth just for the application. So it puts a little bit on this end as well.
May I ask, have you visited with Michael Coop of the State Historic Preservation Office, who really oversees this process?
No, we have not. Harold mentioned him,
Okay.
and we're going to be getting with Michael. We have had meetings today, and tomorrow we have with some other folks. The New Markets tax credit that we thought we could use as a component for the hotel. We had a meeting today. We have one tomorrow with the EB5 folks. We are pretty familiar with SHPO and the federal standards, but we would get with them. We are aware that Michael's very supportive of trying to find a way to save this, and so we look forward to getting with him.
May I just back up a bit? I either missed it, or what do you propose for the tower itself?
If we can land a hotel operator, the tower would become the entry point of the hotel, the lobby, the registration, probably a lobby bar, maybe even a little eatery in there, a gift shop, whatever a hotel would need as their main focal entry point. Probably administrative offices for the people in the hotel, etc. But that would be the point where they come in, and it's such a dramatic edifice, that whole building and the inside, we think would be perfectly suited to a lobby of a historic hotel like that.
Thank Other questions?
So just one last question, just so
Yeah.
I understand, to kind of go back to what Jay was saying. In 2 weeks, we're going to be considering whether or not to give the city support and participation in the creation of this application. Is that kind of, that's what we're looking at right now?
That's what I'm asking for.
Okay.
Mhm.
And based upon that application, then at some point, if the application was successful, then we'd look at an exclusivity if it gets to that point, correct? Or we'll work out a development agreement while
Well,
it's
on
being
that one
considered.
part, I would anticipate if we got a go-ahead and said, okay, let's go ahead and do the application, we'll be supportive of that. We'll go on record saying we support that. We would probably quickly draft a letter of interest or a letter of intent that would give us some idea of operations and a memorandum. And we may want to talk about that exclusivity issue. I suppose, I guess, just trying to think through your question, you're thinking if you give us exclusivity, there's 5 months that are going to go by, really 6, because, before we make the application. So 6 whole months are going to go by before we find out if this thing's a go. And if it's not a go, we've lost 6 months. I guess that's where you're coming from. I don't know. We'd have to think of that somehow.
Sure.
Maybe we can work around that to give us some right of refusal, or without it being exclusive, maybe. I don't know. Maybe as a backup plan. Would that make sense?
Well, I certainly understand,
Yeah.
you're putting the time and effort into. I think there's, we just want
Yeah.
to make sure we're not excluding potential developers during the
Okay.
period.
Sure.
Just as a comment, yeah, I mean, it's a conundrum, but it makes the way that you're thinking what we're thinking. I mean, you have to be clear about that. I think there's ways to do that, though. If you talk about prioritization, if who talks to us, what they have to say, and if we say, there's a plan A, there's a plan B, there's a plan C, or we talk to 3 people, one we like more if it could get done, one, so there's ways to do it, and ways to talk about it, but we all recognize that we're not ignoring it. We'll figure something out if decides that.
Yeah. I agree. I think that makes sense, and I personally wouldn't have any problem with the city talking to other developers and saying, we've got a guy we're working with over here, and there's an application that's pending, and if it doesn't fly, we'll be back to square one, and that way maybe perhaps no time is lost. I would have no problem with that. It would be nice on the other end of things that if we had some language in there saying if we did get the application, if it did be approved, then we could move forward with it. Because, it would be horrible, like I said, to get the application.
Reasonable request if you're going to put the time and effort.
Yeah, right. Mr.
But yeah, I
Willie,
think we could work something out.
we have a request for a formal proposal at our May 20th meeting by another developer.
Okay.
And so that will be on the agenda and will be considered at that time.
Yeah.
And so we just want you to be aware of that.
Sure. Appreciate it.
What other questions do you have for Mr. Willie?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah,
for
thank
bringing this
you.
forward.
It's a very good proposal, and we appreciate it. And please let us know how we can help keep this process going forward.
Okay.
The next is our open forum request, and Lois Josephson has requested time to address the council regarding RTC redevelopment criteria. Lois, thank you, welcome, and I do give you the forewarning that we normally allow 3 to 5 minutes of this on this time period for consideration, and we will certainly give you the 5 minutes and a little more if we have to.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Council members, citizens of Fergus Falls, and Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for the opportunity tonight. We are sitting at a critical juncture that you folks know very, very, very well. The decisions that you are making will shape what this city is like very firmly for the next 20 years, and it will undoubtedly shape it for the next century, just like the building of the RTC shaped it for more than a century. So the decisions that you make are not ones to be taken lightly, and I'm confident, having watched you, that you don't. Thank you for that. was thinking as the presentation that just finished was talking about the Section 8 housing credits that are the ones being applied for in June. We have talked many, many times about this process, about how we have to protect the taxpayer from unexpected expenses. And, thus want to look very carefully at anything that's going to happen in the property. I was reminded as I was listening about serving as the executive director of the United Way at the time frame when the first Section 8 certificates from folks that weren't local were being used here in this community. I remember the meetings and the discussions convened by the chief of police and the changes that came. It's a very large property, and it has the potential to enhance our community and the potential to keep our community the same. And would like to ask that as you look at criteria for making a decision, think about what can enhance the community. Enhance it with jobs and enhance it with leveraging businesses that are already here and are core to the community. As I thought about how to talk about those topics, 3 quotes came to mind. And the first one was from Councilmember Randy Sinstolin in May of 2011, I believe, when the council was meeting at the Otter Tail Power Community Rooms. And that evening, the discussion was around whether or not we could save the property or whether we had to demolish it. And there were a lot of citizens in the audience saying, this is an heirloom castle on the hill, as Mr. Wiley referenced, that we have cause to save because it is in good shape and can be fixed. That evening, the Economic Development Commission was preparing drawings that showed demolishing major portions of it and putting commercial industrial buildings there for the job component and leveraging the tax credits that went with those job components. Mr. Sinstolin, you asked the question, if we have to make a decision and we're using a criteria to make that decision, do we make it on the basis of saving the building or on the basis of jobs? I was one of those that responded to that question that you posed. My response was, we do both. We look for reuses that will bring worthy jobs into the community while saving it. Going forward, we've had many, many more discussions about when decisions need to get made and when they don't need to get made. And I don't think it's any secret that the city administrator and I haven't been on the same side of those decisions every time, as far as timing goes. And I want to say tonight, as we reach this juncture with legislation before the state legislature for extending the decision process on this property, I'd like to extend a sincere thank you to the city administrator for something that took place on March 6th. That was the economic improvement luncheon awarding people who have helped to make this community as strong as it possibly can be through philanthropy and through employment. Following that luncheon, Mr. Sievert came up to me and said, Lois, you have spoken before the City Council on more than one occasion about the fact that there are people who are genuinely interested in this property. The council will be making a decision now that the marketing contract is over in March, and if you have somebody to bring forward, bring them forward. I appreciated that heads up very much, and thank you, Mark. My response was, besides thank you that day in conversation, that we had legislation that was going to be introduced excuse me, in approximately a week from that conversation to extend the hearing, the period for the bonding. And certainly, the council would be doing nothing until after the legislative session, when the results would be back from that whole process. And Mark agreed that, yes, following the legislative session would be the time frame for serious decisions. My final comment and quote is the statement about the credence of for every time there is goodness sakes, okay. To everything there is a season. And on the 20th of May, Mr. Mayor, you alluded to a presentation that will take place. It's a presentation that incorporates a season that has come to be. A season that began first in our conversation about this RTC in the late 90s, early 2000s, I'm not certain exactly, at an HPC meeting at the Historical Society in the back room, when we as an HPC committee were talking about what can we do with this 1,000 square foot building. Various ideas had been tossed out, and I tossed out one that had a health component to it. And I remember Gordon turning and saying, "Lois, I think you might have it. It's a big enough idea that it could capture the building, and it's a growing idea." That growing idea has matured wonderfully, particularly in the last 18 months in Minnesota. I have a booklet that I will share with each of you city council members. It grows out of the Minnesota partnership of the state of Minnesota, the University of Minnesota, and the Mayo Clinic around making Minnesota a national leader in biotechnology and medical genomics. And in the last 18 months, Minnesota, the university, and Mayo has chosen to put a stake in the ground around the decade of discovery for diabetes, to make Minnesota the national leader in the prevention, care, treatment, and curing of diabetes. We have the opportunity on the 20th of May to hear a proposal that will bring significant jobs to this community, that will bring people from outside this community here, that will enhance the educational systems in this community, and that will enable Fergus Falls to be part of that statewide initiative with significant resources put behind it. Would sincerely hope that we utilize in the process of making the decision about this institution's future the criteria of how do we bring jobs to this community and how do we enhance its future going forward with the greatest asset that we have from a physical plant perspective, a castle on a hill. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Next, we have the consent agenda. The following are non-controversial items intended to be approved with one motion without discussion. If a council member, staff, or member of the public would like to discuss an item, please ask that it be removed and it will be placed elsewhere in the agenda. Item 1, resolution authorizing the city to be the fiscal host for the gateway signs to allow the sign to be in a public right-of-way. Item 2, resolution to authorize the mayor and city administrator to enter into a geotechnical services agreement with Braun Intertech for Pebble Lake Bathhouse and to initiate the project as Public Improvement 9138. Item 3, resolution to approve the extension of assessment deferrals for Shoremaster LLC. Item 4, resolution to set a preliminary alley hearing for Public Improvement 5851 Bituminous Alley Improvements west of Union Avenue and north of Vernon Avenue on June 3rd, 2013. Item 5, motion to approve closed minutes from April 1st, 2013 City Council meeting. Item 6, a motion to approve open and closed minutes from the April 15, 2013 City Council meeting. And item 7 is a motion to approve licenses which are included in your packet, and I will entertain a resolution to approve.
I would offer that necessary resolution.
Jim Fish offered, what's your name again, Randy? Second. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Psychos. Simpson.
Yes.
Shire.
Yes.
Rachels.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. Thank you. Under ordinances and resolutions, we have first readings this evening on Ordinance 147, 6 Series, Public Nuisances, and I'll ask our City Attorney, Ralph Nickelmo, to address it.
Perhaps we can address all.
You want all three?
All three at the same time.
All right.
Because they all interrelate.
And there'll be Ordinance 148, 6 Series, Composting, and Ordinance 149, 6 Series, Storage, Deposit, and Disposal of Refuse.
Thank you, Your Honor. In discussing these matters with our Public Works Director, she's indicated that on her review of the city code that composting seemed to be prohibited, yet composting seems to occur in the city. So in looking at the matter, we discussed how we can permit composting to occur within the city with some parameters, and so the combination of the three ordinances are presented to the council for its consideration if it wishes to permit composting within the city. But it interrelates, the composting ordinance that we provided to you interrelates with other portions of our code, and therefore it's the necessity of changing a definition in the public nuisance and all to include composting that doesn't comply with the ordinance, and to change slightly the refuse definition to remove from the definition tree clippings, lawn clippings, and that type of stuff.
Do we need to introduce them separately or all three? And
I would say you can introduce the three together if that's what you would like.
we will entertain an introduction. Jay? They are introduced. We have second readings on Ordinance 145, 6 Series, Criminal Background Checks, and Ordinance 146, 6 Series, Electronic Message Signs. Do we need them separately, or?
If yeah, those should be separately because those
All
are
right.
final ordinances.
Then we will need a roll call vote on Ordinance 145, 6 Series, Criminal Background Checks.
Psychos.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Shire.
Yes.
Rachels.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. Then Ordinance 146, 6 Series, Electronic Message Signs, and we will need a roll call.
Psychos.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Shire.
Yes.
Rachels.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. Thank you. Under resolutions, a resolution to approve water pipe easement with Otter Tail Power Company, and I'll call on Ann Martins
Yes.
to introduce that.
Yes, this is a easement that is with Otter Tail Power in the city of Fergus Falls for some water lines that extend from our water plant up to the reservoirs. Basically a housekeeping item, and this was discussed at the committee meeting last week.
Then we would need a resolution.
I will offer that,
Jim
Your Honor.
Fish, thank you. Second?
I'll second that.
Scott? Roll call, please.
Psychos.
Yes.
Simpson.
Abstain.
Shire.
Yes.
Rachels.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
The
It doesn't pass. That counts as a no vote.
resolution fails.
There shouldn't be any issue. We can bring that back at the next
It's not
month's
a problem.
meeting.
All right.
Delay isn't a problem.
No, not at all.
What is it?
Mr. Mayor, could I ask a question on the ordinances?
Yes.
How do we find out what the ordinance is going to be?
It's,
How can we find out what the new ordinance will say before it's passed? In respect to the composting and the public nuisance now?
You can obtain a copy from City Hall.
Okay. Thank you.
Item 7, resolution to approve amendments to the RTC safety and security policy. And Mark Sievert, would you address that?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. You have a resolution in your packet that has the changes to the safety and security policy of the RTC that was previously approved. This was discussed at the committee meeting. What it does is it allows individuals or groups interested in using the RTC for nonprofit projects, which would require them to be in the building longer or in portions of the building other than on the normal Friends of the Kirkbride tours, would refer to the Otter Tail County Historical Society for their trained volunteers to accompany them and also follow some of the security and waiver requirements that we have. And additionally, it states that the city does not take any objection to the Otter Tail County Historical Society charging a nominal fee for their services.
Any questions or concerns?
We'll offer that, Your Honor.
Offer resolution. Thank you,
I'll
Jim.
second that, Your Honor.
Ben? Roll call, please.
Cycles. Sinstrom.
Yes.
Shire.
Yes.
Rachels.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Resolution is approved. This evening, we have presentation of claims in the amount of $911,014.41. If you have any questions, refer them to Bill Sondmore, Finance Director. I will entertain a resolution to approve.
I'll offer, Your Honor.
Scott, thank you. Second?
I'll second, Your Honor.
Jim? Roll call, please.
Cycles.
Yes.
Sinstrom.
Yes.
Shire.
Yes.
Rachels.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. Item J, Board, Committee, and Departmental Reports. First item is resolution to approve Planning Commission recommendation to approve a conditional use permit for 1120 North Union Avenue. Gordon, are you?
Thank you, Your Honor. Made a large map so you could see the neighborhood. Again, this is the site we're talking about. It has historically been a number of things. Most recently, it was a sale of used equipment. We did have some problems with that at the time, but the Planning Commission, in looking at this property and looking at the conditional use permit, approved or recommends the conditional use permit with the following conditions. Non-general illumination lighting not directed on any adjacent property. So that's like floodlights. Parking or loading must be 10 feet from the property line. It has to be screened. The operator is willing to do that. Parking and storage only allowed on dust-free surfaces. In recent actions, we've approved with a 2-year timeline on those dust-free surfaces. And non-saleable, non-running autos or auto parts stored in a building or a screened area. And then the most important one, the last operator was parking on the right-of-way and storing equipment on the city right-of-way. No parking in the public right-of-way is made as a condition, not just as an acknowledgement or an understanding. We're actually making it a condition. So if for some reason someone persists in parking on the right-of-way, we have a reason to call them back and talk to them about their conditions. And so the Planning Commission recommends this, I recommend this, it makes a lot of sense.
Questions? Ben?
No questions. I would just offer a resolution.
All right. Thank you. Second, Jay? Roll call, please.
Cycles. Yes. Sinstrom.
Yes.
Shire.
Yes.
Rachels.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you.
Item 2, a motion to have a work session on June 3rd regarding temporary signs and to assign 2 council members to participate in a meeting between the city and the Chamber of Commerce. Should we be asking for volunteers, or would someone
I'd like to volunteer, Your Honor.
Scott, thank you. Anyone? Jay?
I'll do it.
All right. We have it, and we'll entertain a motion.
I would offer a motion for Scott and Jada.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Jim, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion is carried. Under reports from staff and administrative officers, Dan Edwards has a status report on state grant funds for the RTC.
Just a quick summary on the sheet I handed out prior to the meeting. It basically shows the original grant amount of the $7,158,000 It shows the expenditures in the column there for the water main extension to the site, for the sewer and water on the site to help with the redevelopment of parcels A and B. It shows what we spent to date and what our budget is for the completion of the incinerator and site cleanup. And then it shows a budgeted amount for preservation and/or demolition of any RTC buildings. The net result is there's about approximately $400,000 that's not allocated in a budget item at this time, which essentially would make up a contingency for any project. So for all practical purposes, you're zeroed out with the grant funds for the allocations. That's not to say they can't be moved around as you change priorities or whatever, but essentially they all have a home as it stands right now. So if there's any questions or anything, want more detail on some of these projects, you could talk to me or talk to Bill about any of the financial issues.
And
I have a question. Does that include this is just the original grant, does that include the 1 million? Doesn't include the 1 million. That's still available for special.
Well, it's
We've
about
got 800 some thousand left of that.
Okay. Thanks.
any other questions? Thank you, Dan. There's no old business. Under new business, Ann Martin has an airport item.
Good evening. Yes, I passed out a short memo. This evening, I'm looking for a project to be initiated. It is the main terminal airport hangar door. We've been in conversations with MnDOT as far as a maintenance grant. It's an aged door safety hazard that we would like to move forward with. It is under the bidding thresholds. It's a quotation, so we're in the process of seeking those quotes. The estimated project cost is between $50,000 to $70,000, and the grant agreement with MnDOT would be a 50-50 match. Our portion of the funding would come from our airport general CIP funds, and it has been identified in our capital projects. So therefore, I'm looking to receive authorization to initiate PI 9341 and to enter into an agreement with MnDOT for the grant dollars.
Somebody offer that.
I'll offer that, Your Honor.
I'll second it.
Jim? Scott? Roll call, please.
Senkos.
Yes.
Sinstler.
Yes.
Shire.
Yes.
Rachels.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Thank you. The resolution is approved. There are no miscellaneous announcements. If there is no other business to come before this meeting, we will be adjourning to a closed meeting for a matter of active litigation. Meeting adjourned.